Namaste. I welcome everyone to this 7th study circle meeting, and we have a special occasion to publish a short publication on FMCG goods and pharmaceutical industry. I welcome everybody. Today's speaker, I would request our treasurer, Sri Praveen Singh sir, to escort our today's speaker on study circle meeting. We are fortunate enough to have a physical meeting as well as an online meeting today, and I'm very happy to see so many happy faces eager to meet each other. So, with this brief about this program, I hand over the task to Sri Monal Bhatt for further.
Good afternoon, friends. Thank you, Aditya ji. Friends, today on behalf of Publication Committee, I am glad to inform you that we have come up with a unique publication on the specific industry of FMCG and pharmaceutical, wherein we have covered GST issues and a way forward of that particular industry. From a lot of issues we have seen that is prevailing into those industries. And for that, we are fortunate that we got a superb author who is present with us, Jigar Doshi, who is by qualification. And the book has also been vetted by CA Divyesh Laksiwala. So I request Jigar to say a few words about it. And before that, I request our president to present a floral bouquet to welcome our author. So with this, friends, let us release the publication. Friends, I request our author, CA Jigar Doshi, to say a few words about it.
Thank you. ECPM members, Alok sir, Abhisar, Director, Monarch, everybody esteemed dais and members, thank you for being here and allowing me to speak for a minute or two. A simple thing, to read is something which we all do, but to write is very different atmosphere. So I started writing in COVID times and launched a book on GST assessment and audit a few months back, and that was a time when I decided that we should write more because that is the best way of learning and spreading the knowledge. So today, if I have a weighing scale and I ask everyone, let's weigh the knowledge that we are possessing in this room itself, it will be an immense weight that we will gain. But are we really spreading that weight for the generations to come, or for the people, or for the industry, or for the practitioners? That's a question that we need to ask ourselves. So that was the only reason why I started penning down my thoughts. And trust me, the biggest task was to write a small version. Monal told me, we want a small publication. I said, I'll write a book. I can write 500 pages. He said, no, we have to limit it because people will not read it. And Manoj, thank you for giving that guidance that, we need a small publication, we don't want a huge book. And that was more time consuming for me because I had to shorten it. I would request all to read and also pass a feedback back to us because we would like to do more and more on this front and spread knowledge for each and everyone. So in case you have any pharma clients or you are inclined to learn more about pharma or FMCG sector, try to read this book, give yourself that time and give us the feedback. I will be more than happy to implement those feedbacks and keep spreading the knowledge. That's what it's all about. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jigar. Friends, I would like to make it clear that I have not given any guidance to the Jigar. He doesn't read it. And it is a wonderful publication. I have gone through personally, and I also request all of you to go through this. This will help you a lot in your day-to-day practice. And friends, at this juncture, I would also like to thank our President Alok Bhai for giving us this opportunity, and my entire team, my co-convener Anvesh Vakharia, and our Chairman Rajesh Bhai Kalati for this. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Manoj. Prior to moving to our today's study circle meeting, we have a very special member of ours who has completed a half marathon at the age of 70. I would request our president to felicitate with the medal Shri Dharmesh Joganputra sir. Thank you, President sir. Now I would like to welcome our speaker for the day, Shri Janak Bagani sir, and I would like our President to welcome him with floral welcome and offer a membership of our Thank you for accepting our invitation, Janak sir. I would request my co-convener Rahul Thakur to introduce today's.
Good afternoon, friends. Before I introduce our today's speaker, mentor, and what we call our own member, Janak Bhai, who has always been very active, very interactive with all the members of our association, always ready to give guidance. I like to make a few announcements. One is the settlement scheme is coming from 1st of April. With regards to this, we must have already seen that a lot of recovery actions have been initiated by the officers. So we have met the commissioner yesterday. We have filed the representation today, and we are again going to meet the commissioner today evening and explaining the situation at the ground level, that how the officers are, without waiting for the amnesty scheme, trying to recover the amount, not only by attaching bank, sending letters to the society, but even attaching the remand accounts of many members. So we are also filing another representation then to the Mantralaya also with this regard. We have also seen that I don't know how many of you got time to go to the Maharashtra VAT site today. It is not working at all. That also we have represented today, and we are going to meet the commission in the evening, and we are going to mention to him that so and so things are happening, and at the fag end of the due date, we cannot cope up with all this work. In fact, I'll give you one example which happened live in my own case. Yesterday night, this is income tax. yesterday night 10:30, faceless assessment notice received, intimation for hearing on 29th, that is today at 9:30 a.m. That is how the department is trying to give a, you can say, only a formality as far as hearing is concerned, not taking up or following due course of procedure in law, or neither giving any proper opportunity of hearing. And unnecessarily, client is okay, client is sleeping, but I am under tremendous pressure to file the adjournment letters, etc., etc. In fact, 9:30 I tried to log in also. 9:35 logged in the system with the password, and they say that the session is ended. You cannot do anything. So this is how things are working right now. But we are trying to meet the commissioner today and take up the issues of our members with the commissioner. And I would also like to thank all of you that this is the first physical or hybrid study circle which we are conducting after a long time. And it is really good to see faces around, because computer पे तो खाली 2 या 3 ही face दिखते हैं ज़्यादा, right? So we have lot of people. Also, I acknowledge the appreciation of all my members who have come on the online website also. Thank you so much for joining us. Settlement scheme is going to be one of the key areas going forward up to September. So I'm sure everybody is keen to listen to this. And coming back to our speaker for today, Shri Janakbhai Wagani. He doesn't require introduction, but I have to do the formality again like the officer. So he is a practicing chartered accountant since 1985, mainly on sales tax and now on GST. He formed an LLP under the name and style of Messrs. BJU and Associates LLP, with other reputed CA practicing in the area of direct tax, including international taxation. He has presented papers at NRRC, RRC organized by various professional organizations on subject of sales tax. He was a member of the study group of WRC of ICAI for publication of Guide to MPAT Audit and issues on VAT audit published by WRC. He regularly contributes in articles and columns on sales tax in various tax journals. He regularly gives lectures on sales tax, VAT, and GST, various public meetings, seminars, conferences, study circle meetings, guidance and coaching class organized by various professional and trade organizations. He was the chairman of the Marath Chamber of Tax Consultants. He was the national treasurer of the AIFTP, and at present he is the national vice president of AIFTP Western Zone. And he is a member of the editorial board of the journal published by AIFTP. He is also the consultant for various trade associations, chairman of Mega Guidance and Guidance Cell Committee of our own GSTPM, and member of National Executive Committee of AIFTP. With this brief introduction, may I ask everybody to give a round of applause. And now, without wasting further time, I would like to hand over the mic to Janakbhai. But before that, let our president also give an opening remark on this occasion of physical meeting.
Respected Chairman of the Around Committee, Shafir Sir, Treasurer Praveer Shinde, Convener Aditya Sima Pradeep, Rahul Nakkar, and all my delegates, all my senior friends, engineering profession who are in virtual also. I think welcome to all of you after the 2 years of the pandemic physically over here. It's a great occasion for all of us, like occasion. Basically, after 2 years, we are gathering together and we are continuing with our whole charm of the meeting. And thank you once more to all of you that you are here. And really, my plan was today that we will keep physically only, no live streaming. Okay, that is what my plan. Let people meet here only. But then the members have requested so long by this time, let's be a virtual meeting also. So we have kept a virtual meeting also. But I would request all of you next time, even for virtual, please come physically. Let's have a fellowship and let's have a proper team so that it should be good for all of us to meet all of us. I really thankful to Jigar Bhai for this publication. I am really thankful to him. One of the things which comes before my mind, I am thankful for that. I am thankful to Divesh Rashtriwala sir for making I think cutting the whole publication. I thankful to Chairman Vijay Patalaki for guiding and Monas Amit Bagaria for coordinating the work. As usual, I told you that things are going very good and till now the things are going very good. And now I think the corona is gone. Let's again meet all together for many more conferences will come and all. Many more educational seminars will come and all. To attend the seminar and all. Let's make our association more prosperous, more active and all. With this, thank you so much once again. And let's hear it now. For the academic team now. Thank you.
नमस्कार जय श्री कृष्ण जय जिनेन्द्र जय स्वामीनारायण जय बीएसपी our president Mr. Alok Mehta, the colleagues who were on the dais now off the dais, and my friends and brothers and sisters, and the persons on the virtual platform hearing me. At the outset, I thank the President and the Chairman of the Electoral Committee and Convener for giving me an opportunity to speak before you and also to speak on the subject for the first time and giving me an opportunity to be the first person to speak physically after the corona. Friends, this is the third amnesty scheme after 2016 in 6 years. We were trying for the amnesty scheme since 2014. I remember Deepak Bapat, who had met that the chief minister when this Hawala, all this thing was happening. But for some reason it was not happened. And in 2016, first amnesty, then again in 2019, second amnesty, then again now the third amnesty in 2022. And people say rightly that we will be getting the amnesty scheme every 3 years. But whatever it may be, it was required this time. And I must make a mention of our outstation member, Mr. Abhijit Bede, that who was telling us to make a representation last year also for one more amnesty scheme, but we were reluctant because of the COVID situation. The industry was suffering from the financial difficulty, and till today they are suffering. And on the top of that, whatever the balance they had in bank account is being attacked by the department for recovery. And which recovery? During the lockdown period, they had passed the ex-party order. The orders are not served; they are still on the portal. Person do not know when the order is passed, and because of that, they could not file an appeal. And now they are attaching the bank account. In one of the meetings 2 years back, the commissioner office was telling me that if we don't enforce the recovery, the people will not come for the amnesty. But we had a one very good judgment under the service tax. I think Asif Bhai can remember that, but I forgot the citation. When the amnesty scheme was declared, service tax was some other act, and when the payment was enforced before the appraisal of the date, the court had taken into that this payment should be considered as a payment under the amnesty scheme. That should be the spirit. That if you are recovering the money beforehand, wait for 4 days. Charge in mein kya hoega? Today is 29. So or you allow me to make the payment today. Now anyway, this is the story and the situation. We were thinking that the income tax deadline is over, 9 and 9 is over, everything is over. We can enjoy the vacation with the family. And Alok Bhai has already announced that the international studies should for the 35 members. I was hopeful that people will demand Il Mange more. But now this settlement scheme has introduced, so we will be busy on this. The bill was presented on 16 March 2022. The name is the Maharashtra Settlement of Areas of Tax, Interest, Penalty or Late Year 2022. For the purpose of the simplicity and to understand, I have used the word amnesty, otherwise that word you will not find in entire. It is a settlement. And when the matter is of the settlement, then the businessman, they should not consider it a business. You can't measure the gain or loss in a settlement. It is a settlement, pay it and forget it. If you don't pay it, okay, fine, then continue with the appeal and litigation. But according to me, this is a very good scheme, considering all other schemes. And when the last time also we made a representation that whenever you announce the scheme, then give us an option to make payment by installment. And there should be a delay for confirmation of making the application. Because the payments are online, and without online payment, you can't make an application. In 2019, we had seen that. Till today, many cases are there where the application could not have been filed because Charan could not generate it and migrated to the system, so we were unable to file the application. And this time they are very generous. And overall, if I say in the one-liner, this is a bold and beautiful. This scheme is a bold and beautiful. If you can, then you must get the benefit of the settlement. What is the duration of the scheme? Last time we had two phases, first phase and second phase. Now this time they have made single phase, 6 month time is given for deciding and making an application. You will not find such a larger period in any of the schemes. April 2022 to 30th September 2022 is the period of the scheme for which you can make an application and make the payment. But the payment is to be made during this scheme, during this period. But when you opt to make payment by installment, then the first installment must be made during the period of amnesty and balance may be made thereafter. We'll see whenever we move for that topic. So, unlike earlier amnesty scheme where the payment and application was to be made in the scheme period, this scheme allows you to make the payment by installment even beyond the amnesty period. And the time limit for the application is the 14th October 2020. Then you can make the application and we have been given 14 days time and there is a provision for confirmation of the delay up to 30 days. Under which act it is applicable? When this scheme was announced, people were saying, is it available for the GST? I said no. Wait for 2 more years. 2 more years or 3 years. Now, just now one of person was telling me that why can't we make a representative of the GST? Let us wait, there are no adjudications. Let the adjudication process to be started, orders to be passed, and then we can ask for the representation for the amnesty under the GST also. Now there are 11 acts administered by the sales tax department. There are further acts which cover the levy of the tax under the Maharashtra government, but out of them only 11 are covered. Yeah, I will not read the name. Bombay Sales Tax, BST, CST and VAT is covered. There are 2 anti-tax acts, they are covered. But the third anti-tax levied by the local body government is not covered. The anti-tax and the local body tax, which was popularly known LPT, that is not covered. Luxury tax is covered. Sugarcane tax is covered. Commerce motor speed is covered. The 2 deemed sales transaction, lease and the horse content is covered, and profession tax is covered. The funny part, we will see that The scheme applies to areas payable under the relevant act for specified period means any period ending on or before 30th June 2017. By this cut-off date, 30th June 2017. Because thereafter we migrated to the GST. So, the 30th June 2017 cut-off date is provided. Mainly they wanted to target the disputes under the MVAT Act. And that is why this scheme is there. There are the objects in the statement of object and return that they want to unblock their capital and reduce the litigation, pending litigation. That is the objective. And to provide relief to the small dealers, they have provided this amnesty scheme. However, certain acts like professional tax, VAT Act to the specified goods, GST Act is still applicable. To them also COVID period, COVID lockdown was affected. And the hard hit industry was the hotel and tourism. You did not allow them to do the business for the 2 years, and even you did not allow them to waive the late fees for filing of the return under the VAT law, despite our lot of representation. Then why it is not being continued for them also? It should be and should have been. And then how we can avail the amnesty of the professional tax up to period of 30th June 2017, where the due date for the payment of professional tax goes beyond 30th 2017. Last time also it had happened. We made a representation, but it was not given a court. This time also we have made the representation, and hopefully we'll be able to get these acts covered up to 31st March 2026. We are hopeful it is not right now. Please make it right. Otherwise, what somebody will say, "Kanak pe us din aapne bola tha humne dal diya." Then who are eligible persons? A person who is liable to pay areas of the tax, etc., levied or levied under the Relevant Act, or any other person, including financial institution, who desires to avail the benefit of the settlement by complying with the condition. Now, we know that the application can be made by the dealer who is affected, against whom the areas are raised. Not only that, now the financial institution and other person can also make an application for the settlement. Now, who could be? So, according to me, the legal head of the deceased proprietor, a transferring company, a resultant company in case of amalgamation, they can also make an application under the settlement act. It is possible. Then there are cases that when the notice is issued to the third party for inquiry of the deed. Now the third party may also go for the amnesty scheme. Then there are the directors, because the VAT Act was amended to make a provision for directors personally responsible to make the payment of the VAT. So those directors can also make an application for the settlement duties. Now there are the defunct companies which have been struck off. There are matters before the NCLT. There are resolution process persons are there. Accordingly, all these persons can also make an application. Only the commissioner has to provide a guidelines and procedure that how they will log in the portal and how they will make the application for the third party use. Then an application can be made by whether a person is registered or not under the relevant act. In case there is an assessment is made for the unregistered dealer URD period, and that person also can make an application for the amnesty. Whether such areas are disputed in appeal under the relevant act or not, this is very important. Because the word disputed and undisputed is mentioned in this act. What do you mean by the disputed act? Does it mean that there should be an appeal or an application revision, rectification, reference? No. Even you have not filed the bill, even you have not made any application, order is passed in your case, and still you can go for the amnesty. When the appeals are filed, today also, then also you can make an application. So there is no condition that there should be some dispute made by you against that order. So that is to be kept in mind. No requirement of filing of appeal today if you have not filed. That is to be written on the wall and should not be repeated this question in any WhatsApp. At least those are hearing me today. Huh? No, it is written on the wall. No? See, the problem is that sometimes the question is asked for the second opinion. And there are third and fourth and fifth. And not only for us. See, sometimes we want a claim. One of the meeting commissioners said, why you ask for the clarification? Not for us, we are very clear, but your officers. They don't know what is the provision. And that is why we want everything in black and white from your office. In one of the meetings, the GST officer was saying that I am the boss and I will pass the order according to my understanding. I am not passed by any circular. That is happening. The applicant who has availed the benefits under the earlier scheme, he can also make an application for whatever the benefit not given at that time or remaining anything. Which sum is eligible for the settlement? Now, aliens means the outstanding amount of tax, interest, penalty, and late fees. कुछ बाकी बचा? है देखो कुछ है कहीं कहीं. More picture is there. There is a penalty. Late fee आ गया. ये भी interest में आता है. वो तो tax में आ गया. Tax, interest, penalty, and late fee के बाद में कुछ आया बचता है. Fine and composition money. Fine and compounding money, not composition money. Fine and compounding money is not there when we can have ask for to input, but there is an exception case. As per statute passed under the relevant act. That is the first. Admitted in the return or as the can be revised return filed under letter which has not been paid either wholly or fully or partly. So even the written dues, revised written dues is also eligible for settlement. Any amount of say tax determined and recommended to be payable by the auditor in the audit report submitted under section 61, whether notice for recovery issued or not. Which is this? We all knew that there was a column in Form 705 wet audit report, where we were asked to compare between the written dues and the determined by the auditor. And the difference thereof, we used to recommend. And then recommendation of the auditor was to be accepted in the statement of submission by taking accepted yes or no. If you take then accepted, then only it becomes that is eligible for the amnesty. So it is only a sum, whether accepted or not, that will also become an eligible for the amnesty scheme. But when we go to and refer the disputed, at that time you have to see whether it is accepted or not. Such areas of the tax interest money late fees pertain to the statutory period and include interest payable on the admitted tax, that is on the written dues. In respect of the written dues, the admitted tax under the relevant acts for the statutory period. Now, many times while filing the return, the interest payable for tax not paid is not shown. See, when we file the return, we don't show the interest payable. But in such case, the interest payable on that return also is eligible for the settlement. Now need to clarify that in such cases, interest will be calculated up to which period. I filed the return in 2017. Shown the amount of tax payable, I am not assessed into that. Then the interest according to the law, it will be applicable up to the date of the payment. So when I make the payment of the tax in the amnesty period, then whether interest would be calculated up to the 31st March 2022 or up to the date of the payment, according to me, that should be up to 31st March 2020, because the whatever amount you make in the payment, made in the scheme, that should be considered payment made under the Act, Settlement Act. So that should be clarified by the Commissioner. And that interest is eligible for the amnesty. What are the interest payable up to date? Now the eligible sum is divided in three parts. One is the disputed tax, second is undisputed tax, then interest, penalty and late fee. The dues are divided into three parts for the purpose of calculation of amount payable under the amnesty and the waiver. Disputed tax, undisputed tax, interest, penalty, late fee, and for these three measures, there are not what disputed and disputed. So interest, penalty and late fee, whether admitted in the return in a FY debit report or not, is forming part of a separate class of the dues. Interest, penalty and late fee. And one thing, no amnesty for undisputed tax. 100% you have to pay. Whatever is there. The amnesty is available for the disputed tax, interest, including post-assessment penalty and late fee. Then we come to the question that what is disputed and what is undisputed. The disputed tax is defined to be other than undisputed tax. Simple, one liner. 2019 was the same position. Till today, the officers are not able to digest what is disputed and what is not undisputed. And now 22 has come. Despite very clear-cut provisions to define the term, the NC Mehta, our past president, many times was telling me that there is no confusion under the law. The law is very simple. But when we don't accept the conclusion, then it becomes confused and complicated. By both the sides. When as per the law we tell somebody that you have to pay this much and he is not accepting, the law is very complicated. When you accept the conclusion by the both sides, then it becomes good and simple tax, not the GST. So what is undisputed tax? Tax is collected separately. Is undisputed. And reasonably so, you can't pocket the money collected from the customer. Then this is very dangerous. It was there in 2019 also. Taxes shown payable in any return or revised return, in other words, return. Okay, fine. If you have committed mistake in the return and then later you file the revised return, then what? Then revised return substitute the original return. Then the amount payable as per the revised return should be considered as the disputed dues and not the original return. The deduction claimed or allowed for tax under the 50s of the VAT or similar other act. Now this has got the story. That under the Bombay Sales Tax Act there was a rule 46B. And under the VAT Act, rule 57, when your price is inclusive of the tax. Then when you deduct the element of the tax, then under the VAT, under the earlier Bombay Sales Tax Act, there was a provision when you claim the deduction of the sales tax element, then you were denied the refund when subsequently the tax doesn't become clear. So now they have made a provision that when you have reimbursed yourself to the extent of the tax element in your sales price, so it was considered to be a deemed collection of the tax. So it is considered to be an undisputed tax. Now we have got an MRP of the FMCG. Today the Mr. Jigar has given us the book and the MRP concept. Now when there is MRP concept, maximum retail price is supposed to be inclusive of all taxes. When you sell the goods at MRP, then the tax payable on that transaction is inbuilt in that MRP price. So we claim the deduction under the VAT law and reimbursed ourselves to the excluded extent. Then it is considered as an undisputed tax. But when I don't claim it, but officer is allowed, then what? I have not claimed. Sometimes officers are generous. They give the deduction. Then we need the clarification. In such situation, according to me, it should not be considered as an undisputed but should be disputed tax. Yes.
This late of allowed word, this allowed word is not there in the current scheme because there is a previous scheme.
So I made it here only just for the purpose of our discussion only. These are not the reproduction of the act only. Only for the purpose of the discussion I made it.
So this suppose what you are telling.
Yeah.
Suppose what you are telling. Because the earlier scheme they had mentioned allowed as a undisputed tax. Rather now they have taken it as a undisputed tax. So it was a disputed tax. So suppose what you are telling.
Yes, yes. बट वो क्या मैं बोलता हूँ उसका कुछ मतलब नहीं जब तक कमिश्नर नहीं बोलेगा
Sir, ये अभी आ गया है. It has come in this one. It's very clear.
क्या थैंक यू राम See, it says an amount claimed by the dealer as deduction as per Rule 57. So it is a claim. What is there? Now the claim where? So the debate is there. They will not say that my officer has given you the deduction without claim. So when the claim word is there, claimed in return, then I can accept. But the word in return should be there. Then only the issue will be, otherwise it is still debatable. Amount of tax forfeited in any order or excess covered tax for any return, device return or audit report, etc. So amount forfeited under the law is a penalty, not amount of the tax. Legally speaking. But they have included it under the undisputed category. But excess collection of the tax shown in the return or in audit report, that is also considered to be undisputed tax. Any amount of tax recommended by the VAT auditor in his audit report and accepted by the dealer. In two times. Amount of the tax recommended. Here the word is tax, not interest. But in the VAT audit report, many times interest was also recommended to be payable and accepted by the dealer, and some has paid and some has not paid also. But here only tax part is considered to be undisputed and not the interest part, that is still eligible for the waiver. Now many times the liability for the pending form was shown as payable by the VAT auditor, although it was not dispatched. But some VAT auditor has shown it payable. And through oversight, it was accepted by the dealer. Then the liability for the pending form would become undisputed. So our representative should be in such cases. The liability for the pending form was never to be recommended by the VAT auditor, was never to be accepted or not accepted by the dealer. There is a genuine mistake in the VAT audit report and it was not provided any rectification of the VAT audit report. Then in such cases, the such amount of for the liability for the pending form should be considered to be a disputed that should be represented. Then amount of tax deducted under the source by the employer. See, by the employer, not in case of the contractor. when you claim the credit for the tax and is disallowed in the assessment, then that will not become part of undisputed tax. Tax deducted in the case of an employer, it is akin to tax collection. So it becomes a part of an undisputed tax. And when I say about the tax deducted, is tax deducted under the relevant law, Bombay Sales Tax, VAT Act or any other act, and not the income tax. Please don't confuse with the TDS word, income tax and the sales tax, and not the GST also. Amount of tax collected at source, certain government agencies that allowed to collect the tax at the source, and that is also forming part of the undisputed tax. Then the profession tax in case of enrollment is a undisputed, you don't get any amnesty for the profession tax payable as an enrollment person. We know that we have got two types of the professional tax liability, one for yourself and one for the employee. When you have deducted the tax under the PPF, then it may become undisputed, but that is not shown here. That is also undisputed tax, that is a tax deducted by the employer under the PPF. But enrollment person is also considered to be undisputed tax and no amnesty in PPF for the tax matter. Then the amount of disallowed set-off under Rule 52 and 52B of the VAT rule which is eligible to be claimed in the subsequent year. Now, which is that? Now, in case of the mobile, there was a one kind of so-called scheme as per the department that in certain state the rate of tax on the mobile was 5%. What the people did, purchase from here and sold outside the state. So there was a loss of revenue on the sale of the mobile. Again, that mobile was being sold in the Maharashtra at the rate of the 5%. So they brought the amendment that in case of the sale of the mobile, your set-off would be restricted to the extent of tax payable on the sale, and the balance set-off would be carried forward in subsequent year. Same was under Rule 52B and 52A for the deferral PSI unit, that you can't claim the set-off to the extent more than the tax payable under the law. And that set-off was allowed to be carried forward for the subsequent year. So that disallowance of the set-off which you have carried forward in the subsequent year is considered to be undisputed. But all other disallowance of the set-off under Rule 53, 54, 51, whatever it may be, is still to be considered as a disputed tax and not undisputed tax. Then we have a credit of the done month. When I claim the refund, there is a stock of as on 30th June 17. And that set-off I have not claimed. So there was no question of disallowance of the set-off. So that I claim it as a tran month. But when I claim the refund and then tran one is there, then what will happen? So that they have to clarify what will happen to that. The disputed tax may be as per statutory order of the assessment after revision letter or as per the order of High Court or Supreme Court. It may be any reason. There should be on an order that we have to see. Then I have made there some illustrative list of the disputed tax just to understand it is not there in the bill. That there can be a dispute in rate of tax or composition. So dispute in rate of the tax. That could be the reason for the additional use in the statutory order. Disallowance of the set-off or any other for any reason like non-eligibility, wrong claim return, non-payment of tax by the vendor, mismatch or unmatched, given due to etc. What are the reasons that this set-off is disallowed? Then here one may have a doubt that under the VAT law, I have claimed the set-off and there was a refund which I adjusted against the CST. And that refund is turned into the dues under the VAT law. So there is a demand under the CST to the extent of the VAT refund adjustment. Then in the CST, what would be the nature of that dues? Strictly speaking, it is a dues pertaining to the tax collection. You have made collection of the 2%, which you have paid less. In earlier 2019 scheme, it was clarified that that would be considered to be a disputed tax. So similar clarification is required here also, that that should be considered to be a disputed tax and not undisputed tax under the CST. Rejection of refund claim in the return but does not include the issue under 52B, which we have discussed. Increase in taxable return turnover for any reason, discounts of the tax-free sales, good return forms, etc. But when we are going for this kind of the tax liability, we have to see that whether deduction was claimed in the return or not. If the deduction of the tax element was claimed in the return, then it will become an undisputed tax, not eligible for the waiver. Discounts of the pending forms under the VAT law 406 to 409 for subcontract credit for the TDS also given into that, and under the CST, even equal F, H, I or J, etc. Now, when we are talking about the pending forms under the CST Act, then whether this Settlement Act is useful for the waiver of the tax, according to me, only few persons will be fortunate to get this benefit. Why? Because when we file the appeal, we have already made the full payment of the tax. What is remained after that? And when I have got the C form, then why should I go for the amnesty? But there are some persons where the orders are not passed, still recovery is pending, not filed the appeal. Today only I discussed with some of my friends that he is the fortunate person, his client. That tank is attached, recovery is being taken, but no appeal is filed. So you are that lucky class of the persons. Otherwise, mostly it is an illusionary. Suppression of sales in the return and assessed in order. Yes.
Okay, interest and penalty.
You can do it. But that I am talking about disputed tax. We वो part का गया नहीं मैं. हाँ, one can amnesty interest and payable. वो तो ले लेते हैं. That I mentioned that. Then tax payable on purchase from unregistered purchase in the specialties under the Amendment Act and under the PST. This can be a question in the KBC. Is there any provision for the legal purchase tax under the Amendment Act? Yes, in certain class was there. Now, dues arising for any other reason like credit of tax paid or PD or PCS not given. And these are friends, these are illustrative lists. There can be any more also. But for understanding, I have just given the list of the reason for the additional dues. So this can be the additional dues, and you can get the amnesty for the waiver of the tax as a disputed tax. Now, about this credit of the tax paid, TDS and TCS, my understanding and my view is that you don't require any application for rectification of the mistake. It is not recoverable. I have already made the payment. You are not given the credit. So the commissioner should issue the circular wherever the credit of the payment is not given. Then before I go for the amnesty, I should be allowed to reduce the tax demand to that extent. And only balance amount would be considered for the amnesty. And coming to that section 6 for the determination of areas of the tax, then you will get the reasoning for that. Now we have got a special class of the dispute made by the state. We know that the state and department is also making application before the High Court and appeal before the tribunal also. Or there is a department has made any appeal and applications. Reference or appeal before the tribunal or the court. The demand disputed by the state department, including tax assessment or late fees, may be considered for the settlement of areas by the applicant, and the application for settlement may be filed accordingly. In such case, once the amount disputed by the state department is settled, there shall be no refund or adjustment of the amount so paid. Now, who will go for that? When judgment is in my favor, department has agitated in the High Court, then why should I go for the amnesty? Yes, I can give you an example of such cases. Where the Supreme Court has given a judgment against the decision of the tribunal, not in that case, but in other cases. The famous case of the bonded warehouse claims, Dada Sons, where in your case it is allowed. Matter is pending before the High Court. In another case, it is said that bonded warehouse is not eligible to claim for the reduction. In such cases, you may decide to go for the amnesty. Then although state has filed the application, but then they have to clarify which amount I have to consider for that. That based on the tribunal decision, you may have got the refund of the tax payment also. So the dues originally as per the appeal, as per assessment, how to calculate that they have to provide for the settlement benefit. I went one ahead. I want that let you take a situation review of the petition filed before the High Court, because one of the objects of this scheme is to reduce the litigation. And we are not only the reason for the litigation, you are also that. Then the VAT on service tax which is being litigated despite the amendment in the VAT, to withdraw that application. There are certain transactions where you have filed the application to the High Court and the Supreme Court has allowed it. So let the commissioner and the government should take a review of their litigation and decide to withdraw that. So no harm, there is no harm, because it is already decided a law, you wanted to dispose. That there will be a settlement from your side also. Now, how they will allow to make an application and whether the state is required to withdraw the capital debtors, etc., that is need to be clarified. Amnesty for parcel issue, no. Talk of the town today. The law does not provide amnesty for the parcel issue. We are going to make a strong representation, already it is on also. We are hopeful to get it, but today it is not right. Why? Because when you say that order passed in the amnesty period is eligible for the amnesty, then why not partial issue? Otherwise, what will happen? Everybody will run for passing of the order. And the appellate authority, they get the instruction from the commissioner. Top 100, top 100, top 100. When my turn will come? So when you are allowed to give the benefit of the amnesty for the orders passed in the scheme, it becomes a duty of the commissioner to see that all the orders are passed in that period. Otherwise, I can go and ask them to go to the High Court that because you did not pass the order in amnesty period, I lose the benefit of amnesty, so I should get it. We have got a judgment under the tribunal when we could not get the benefit of the waiver of the interest, and tribunal has waived the interest under the earlier. It is the need of the hour, and the government should consider this allowing the parcel issue. Not only this, also self-assessment also. That when my ex-party orders are passed in the lockdown, how do I get the amnesty? Where some is accepted, some is not accepted. Then section 6, adjustment of determinable areas of tax eligible for the settlement. What we discussed, what is areas of the tax? Now what we are going to discuss, which is eligible for amnesty. Calculation part. Notwithstanding anything contained in the relevant act or under this act, I will come to why this is so. I will come little bit. Any payment made in respect of a statutory order, either in the appeal or otherwise, on or before 31st March 2022, shall first be adjusted over the amount of undisputed tax, disputed tax, interest, penalty, so on. Why? Why this provision? Under the MVET Act, there is a provision that when you make any payment or any statutory dues order, it is being adjusted towards penalty first. Although you written the word tax, interest, but it goes with the penalty, then interest, and then tax. So to give us the maximum benefit of the settlement, this provision is made that the tax payment, whatever you made, as per the statutory order, except in the part payment in appeal. Whatever the reason, whatever the payment you have made, whether by way of tax, interest, or penalty, but for the purpose of this settlement act, it could be considered towards first undisputed tax, when you are required to make 100% tax. Then whatever remaining will go for the disputed tax, where you are required to make 50% tax. Then to the interest, where you are required to pay tax 15%, and then penalty. I mean, very good provision, because it is the benefit of the taxpayers. Otherwise, what will happen? All the payment except the part payment appeal will go toward the penalty. So after the adjustment amount as specified clause, only the amount remaining outstanding for the specified year, if any, as on 1st April 2022, would be eligible for the amnesty consideration, or any demand raised for the special period by any stakeholder during the period April to 30th September. So we have got two parts. Order passed before 31st March 2022 and order passed during amnesty. When the order is passed during the amnesty, the demand as per the order would be considered for the amnesty, or order passed before amnesty. We need to appropriate the payment of the tax. Now, when the say that a tax paid under the act would be first adjusted against the tax, etc., then tax paid but not given credit should also be adjusted accordingly. That was my contention when I said that any tax paid, credit of TDS, TCS disallowed in the return order should be without passing of the order considered under the towards the undisputed tax, disputed tax accordingly.
Pre-deposit, what pre-deposit?
It is a topic that they are adjusted against the undisputed tax. Any payment.
That is not towards tax, sir.
वो सर्विस चल रही है यहाँ पे टोकन टैक्स
ये जो 31 मार्च को जो असेसमेंट में हुआ तो अप्रैल में तो एमडीसी के टाइम में होगा
हेलो
उसके अलावा
हेलो वही लिखा ना any demand raised for the specified period for by any state order during the period 1st April to 30th September. The tax will be adjusted. Tax will be disputed in that order. Tax will be disputed depending upon what is the nature of the demand. So don't get confused. What is disputed and undisputed, there is no cut-off period. What you have to see that demand as per the order represents which amount. Even if the assessment or your non-payment as per the return would contain, then that would become an undisputed tax. When you have collected the tax not paid, and it is there in the demand order, that would be considered as the undisputed tax. So disputed and undisputed is to be considered not as per the order, but as per the reason for that order. That we have to see. And this will apply to return dues. You file the return, then you made installment payment with interest. Then it would be considered towards the tax, and that interest payment also would be considered towards the tax. Because when you go for the installment, the department says that you have to pay installment tax plus interest. So that would go as a undisputed tax, disputed tax, interest and penalty like that. Then also the recommendation given by the VAT auditor also would be the given same treatment. Now, section 7, this is a new thing which we are seeing in our life. At least I can see in my life, because I have not seen the waiver of tax liability under any act. Under the Bombay Cess Tax Act, there was a waiver of the tax liability. Under the VAT law, there was a waiver by the GR, that when the amount doesn't become recoverable, then there is a procedure for the waiver of such demand by the government. Now here by way of act, notwithstanding anything contained in the relevant act or under the provision contained in this act, any areas determined as per any statutory order for the period as on 1st April 2022, which are rupees 10,000 or less per manager under the relevant act shall be written off without any application. I can say so. Even and the post assessment interest on such also will be written off. So according to me, from reading of the section 7, we don't have to make any application for the waiver of it is written up by the government, and we should not make any application for that.
So the 10,000 limit is per act.
Per order.
So I might have 10,000 in CST, 10,000 in VAT also. So it applies to both.
Yeah, it should be. We not a given it limit per order. The limit is per order, according to me. Then the question is, in the budget speech, the finance minister had given some number of people who would be getting the benefit
97,000.
97,000. Then there may be a case where I claim the refund, I file the appeal, demand is less than 10,000. Then what will happen to that appeal? Because it is a return of by the State Department without any application, there is no condition that I should withdraw the appeal. Then according to me, in such cases, the appeal should be continued and it is to be decided that 10,000 rupees demand, we should give in effect in the order as a waived off. Because there is no condition of making an application or a withdrawal of the appeal. This is something out of the box.
At least, inform that, who otherwise,
क्यों?
it will stand in the book like that.
तो हमारे बुक में हमको क्या करने का? See, it is waived off. Now that is the income tax department issue the notice that तुम्हारा इधर amount return हो गया, why you are not added in the income? That would be other matter. Requisite, now what is the requisite amount payable and the quantum of amnesty? Requisite amount means an amount required to be paid by the applicant under this act and shall be the aggregate of the following. The amount specified must be of the table given in subsection 2. First, undisputed amount of the tax 100%. The amount of disputed tax, interest, penalty, late fee, whether levied or not, as determined in section 8 and 9 of that, 50%, 25%, 30%, whatever it may be, that would be the amount. And as specified in extra or has to be appended to the act. So this total amount you have to make the payment under the settlement. If you make this payment, then only you are eligible for the settlement. Tax per दिया, interest नहीं बढ़ा. Interest per दिया, tax नहीं बढ़ा, so that will not be considered for the amnesty. So to make the total of undisputed tax, disputed tax, interest and penalty, whatever it is. The requisite amount payable towards the second settlement shall be as follows. When the state tax is undisputed or indisputed, and the extent of the payment of such undisputed disputed tax, indisputed, so we have to make the total of the package. We don't have an option that we go for the disputed tax and don't pay interest penalty, or we pay interest and penalty, don't pay disputed tax or undisputed tax. It should be total of all that. Now we have been given a one-time option and also option as per the installment. then how to determine that amount payable under the amnesty? Where areas determined as per section 6 of tax interest as per city order is of 10 lakh or less. Where the areas determined as per this of the interest value as per any statutory order 10 lakh or less. And if the applicant opts for payment of lump sum amount under one-time option, then the extent of lump sum payment will be applicable and waivers will be available as per the eligible. So the 10 lakh limit is to be calculated how? That is provided here in section 8. Take the demand as per the statutory order and reduce the amount what you have paid, and balance amount is when it is less than 10 lakh. Not the tax total demand. Without including post-assessment interest. If it is less than 10, then you have option to make the payment 20% of the total demand. We have got total annexure A or B because that period are there up to 31st March 2005 and tax balance year. Accordingly, you have to make the payment under the lump sum payment. Now, how to make the payment? MPR 6 under the VAT and under the challenge of the earlier act. Now the problem is for the earlier act. Online payment under the BST Act was not permitted. There was no circular. Under the Luxury Act, no. Under the earlier act, no. Was contained in the Lease Act. So last time in 2019 there was a similar issue, and they gave us one payment option, payment gateway. This time also they should give us the payment gateway, and they say you make the payment through GRAS. GRAS का तुमको मालूम है क्या होगा? GRAS आज GRAS नहीं रहा, GRAS रह गया. GRAS सूखा हुआ GRAS. So that should give us as such a payment gateway that we can make at the click of our fingers. It should be one step formula, not the 2 or 3 steps. And when we cannot make the payment on the portal, they should allow to accept physical payment. So you are concerned with the payment, I am ready to give you the payment. But let us wait for the circular for this procedural matter. Any payment made before the 31st March 2022 shall not be considered for the payment under the MSC. There won't be any waiver of the undisputed tax. When the application is made the payment which is less than the requisite amount as determined in the section, then you will be allowed to get the proportionate benefit, that is the provision section 8. By mistake, गलती हो गई. You made a less payment. Then your amnesty will not be rejected, although they have rejected in 2000 in the lockdown period. Despite clear provisions, they have rejected the application. There is a provision of rejection when the application only on other ground, not for the short payment. We hope that they will give us an opportunity to make payment good. Short payment that was in 2019 also. So it is sooner, it is better to make an application sooner than to wait 38 months. I propose that whenever I go for the amnesty, they should tell me in advance that what is the amount payable might be under the amnesty scheme. So therefore, under the HCLDRS scheme, Central Government Service Tax, that was a very good scheme that you make an application, then they will determine what is the amount payable. And they gave us the time under that to make the payment in the so and so period. I mean, that should be the correct law of administration of payment. But when we look at certain provision, we find that your settlement order when you receive, still it is not an end of the day. So we discussed the proportionate waiver. I will not take much time about that because it is now already 4:20. How much time I have? Then there is no provision to reject the application, merely order that the payment is made by the next period is less than the requisite amount. Now there is a special provision for the entry tax as per section 9. Why I saw that this entry tax under the Act 2002 for the certain goods was allowed to be given set off under the VAT Act. So when you claim the set off which is denied, only that amount would be the entry tax calculation is there. So will not take much time. Is a specific case and there will be example for that. So the amount which is denied or the entry tax payable will be less to the amount to be paid by you under the entry tax. So when the amount is payable under one-time option, or in case of areas more than 50 lakhs, then the applicant can opt to pay the amount by the installment. So we have got the three limits: 10,000 complete waiver, 50 lakhs no installment, and above 50 lakhs installment. Then how do I determine this 10,000, 10 lakh and 50 lakhs? According to me, it should be per order as per act and not a cumulative all the areas. And we want this to be clarified, not for ourselves, for the officer also. Then duration of the payment for the scheme is 1st April to 30th September 2020. For option of installment, at least 25% payment for that option should be made in the amnesty period. Balance you can make after amnesty. So 25% at least you should make in the amnesty period. When you make that, then you are allowed option of 3 quarterly installments from the date of the application. Suppose you make an application in September 2020, so from that 9 months you get a time to make the payment. Of course, it with the additional interest amount.
The total dues of 3-4 orders was 50 lakhs
Per order. Per order.
Yes.
Total
थोड़ा सुर में बोलो ना.
I think मैं गाऊंगा तभी ये माइक साथ देगा.
total order
Total amount exceeds
50 lakhs. 3-4 orders.
Yes, the question is
Hello.
that when the
Yeah.
more than one order crosses 50 lakhs. No, it is a per order according to me. Let them it should be more than one order for the installment. I said why installment limit of 50 lakhs? A small proprietor whose turnover is only 5 lakh rupees and is asked to pay 1 lakh rupees in this COVID period. There are number of the cases where the dealers have expired and the dealer is required to file bigger tax, legal tax. So that according to me, this installment charges should be given to everybody irrespective of the limit of the amount to be payable. Only they need the more time to make the payment other than this big industries.
Per order or per period?
Per order.
VAT and CST separate.
Separate, sir. Per order, per let it be clarified by the commissioner. My opinion is very clear. Per order, per year. Is 10,000. See, otherwise what will happen? Now we will get the benefit of the 10,000. Then conditions. Application filed by the applicant shall have to be withdrawn. Appeal to be withdrawn full and unconditionally. So no partial benefit. Where excess set of or refund under the VAT Act is adjusted against the liability under the CST Act, all the tax and anti-tax, and where such adjustment set or refund is reduced or denied in the assessment order, then in order to settle the dues under the CST Act or under the anti-tax Act, appeal filed under the VAT Act is to be withdrawn. Now what is it? That we continue when the set-off is disallowed under the VAT law. So we file 2 appeals under the VAT Act and under the CST Act. When you settle the dues of the CST Act, then you are not allowed to continue to file the VAT Act. You have to withdraw that Act also, that appeal also. But when my VAT Act also considers the issues other than the set of, then what? That should be allowed to be continued. No? to the extent of the set off adjusted under the CSTS. Suppose 50,000 rupees set off, I adjusted under the CSTS. My set off of 2 lakh or 5 lakh, 10 lakh is disallowed. Then to the extent of the refund amount under the CSTS which is adjusted, only to that extent my appeal under the VAT Act should be withdrawn, not other. That is my view, otherwise it is unfair and illogical. The submission of acknowledgement application for withdrawal appeal to be designated also along with the application certificate as a proof of withdrawal of the. Now the acknowledgement of application for the withdrawal appeal should be considered as a proof of withdrawal. So we need not to go and run after the appellate audit for order. But why you want a separate application for the withdrawal? Now all appellate records are online. When I make an application, I give the details of appeal file, and that should be considered to be withdrawn. Why you want one separate application for it? It should be relevant. Let the application form itself contain the application for withdrawal of the appeal, and it goes to them. And now when the stay order are there, issuing it goes to the recovery file. Now it can be done. Then separate application is to be made for each class of the dues under the Act. So it is not a one application for all the dues. When we are required to settle the return dues, there we have been given a permission to consider all the returns, more than one return for a year. Suppose you have not made the payment for the 21 or 16, 17, and you have filed 12 returns, so you don't require 12 applications. Then you can file one application for entire 16, 17, which covers more than one return. This is a very good provision under section 12(3), where you have desired, where you have made the payment, but you could not make any application within 14 October. Then further period of 30 days is given to condone the delay, and he has not to see what is the reason, only has to record the reason for condonation of the delay. Sufficiency of the reason for the delay need not to be explained like what we are doing for the restoration of the. And that should be claimed by the commission that when I make an application within 30 days, it should be allowed to be condoned without any reason, and no hearing should be there. When he wants to reject, then let him give his and every application should contain minimum 25% payment when it is for the installment. See, the scheme is that you make an application and you make payment of 25%. Then from the date of the application, you have been given a quarterly installment. Now, when I make the application on the 15th September, then how to calculate the quarter? 15th December, 15th March, and 15th June should be there. That should be the order of the application when you make the payment by the installment. Then they have made a provision that order of the settlement should be passed within 3 months from the date of the application. From the last date specified for payment under option for single payment, and for installment last date of the payment option. Because in installment we make an application before we make the full payment. So full payment would be at the last installment. So from there on 3 months time is given for passing of the order. Once the order is passed, then you are discharged of the tax credit to the extent of the waiver of areas specified in the order. When the application is not in order as per the provision, then only he can reject it, not for the short payment. All the short payment can be considered that it is not as per the provision of the Act. But there is a specific provision, when the payment is short, then he cannot reject the application. For any other, yes, he can reject the application. That the before rejection, he has to grant the offer to hearing, but the instructions should be there that they should grant. Without that, the order should not allow them to dismiss the rejected. But what we have seen in the lockdown period, they have rejected the application without hearing. Now there is a provision for rectifiable mistake. If you look at the heading of the section, you will not find it. Therefore, I made a separate given exception in my PPT. Section 13(3) provides an application for rectification. In 2019, it was allowed, but portal did not allow us till today also. So when they design the portal, they should also provide for this application for the rectification and passing of the order. 6 months time limit is there, and they can allow the rectification order. Provision for appeal is there in section 14. Within 6 months due date, no provision for delay confirmation, and there is no second term to the tribunal. Now, other miscellaneous important I have narrated because I am not taken the much of the time. So there is a provision for the review of the within 12 months, section 15, section 16 provide bar against the recording of any proceedings under the relevant act, except specific observation made by the controller and auditor general of India, that is STRA. But there is no time limit here because reopening is under the relevant act, not under this act. So they have not provided the time limit. It will be subject to time limit of the under the earlier act. Provides for the revocation of order. See, you have got the rejection, rectification, and third revocation of order. I don't know what you want. It is a settlement. You settle and forget it. And for us only one remedy, rectification and appeal. That is also 6 months. Here they got 12 months back. So no refund under this act. But when I made excess payment under the amnesty, then it should be allowed. The commissioner is given power to prescribe the forms and procedure for the amnesty, and then we will see that by the 1st April. And the government has got the power under section 20 to remove the difficulty. So whatever the parcel issue what we are seeing, that the commissioner government can notify under section 20 to allow the parcel assessment. Then there are some issues which I listed out. That the dealer should be allowed to adjust the pending refund amount of subscribed earlier period against the regulation paper under amnesty. I want the refund for the 2008 may not given by you. You adjust in amnesty. That is the amount payable under the action, not the statutory order of any order. Then the parcel issue amnesty should be available. And also when the notice is issued for the assessment, you will not pass the order. Then the appeal is remanded back. Then to the extent of the dues communicated to me by the notice, that is given due to mismatch pending form, that should be considered disputed and should be allowed under the amnesty. Same way for when appeal is filed pending and ex parte order are passed, remanded matter that the commissioner should take a bold view and allow the amnesty for that. In many cases under the earlier law, earlier amnesty, I made the payment, I could not file the application. Or application is rejected, appeal is pending, appeal is not made, rectification is pending, that is not made. First, they should allow the amnesty under the earlier law. And whatever balance that should be eligible for the amnesty under the second law. You don't tell me that what you made the payment, that is adjusted your tax, and you further make the payment under the new amnesty. That's all. Thank you very much and happy new financial year 2022.
Okay, friends, I think one of the marvelous sessions done by Kanan bhai. We have a good crowd today and many more are behind the still leaders over here. So
Online
all the
question.
leaders, thank you so much. Thank you to Ravi.
Online
Thank you so much for being here. really the inspiring session for all of us and be motivated for all of us. Before I give to Aditya, there are online queries are there which you can start, but I get compliment to the Praveen Sonawani staff and Aditya Sakriya for making marvelous online system application. Thank you to Aditya and like that. Aditya, first we take the online query. Okay. Okay. We have 15 minutes to go, so just bear.
So, Janak sir, most of the queries you have answered in your session itself, but I'll still read it out that so that those queries get underlined. So we'll go one by one. First query is from Dilip Nathani sir. Period mentioned is up to 30th 2017. If a person wants to get benefit of amnesty for PT post 1st July 2017, will he be eligible?
Right now, no.
So, what if assessment order passed by appellate authority after 31st March 2022, that is in April 2022, whether those assessment orders are eligible? So, those are eligible. If the additional tax recommended by the auditor is accepted by the dealer, then the tax amount will be considered as undisputed. No amnesty for tax, only we can go for interest. Is it correct? CST order passed by nodal officer for non-production of F forms. We are in appeal for the same. We have paid full CST tax dues. We have received some of the F forms for which we will produce to the appellate authority. Possibly, appellate authority will pass an order in April 22 or May 22. Whether we are eligible for amnesty scheme for the order passed after 31st March 2020.
Yes, you are confident.
Yes. Just he'll have to make sure that it gets passed before 30th September. Whether the dealer have to make application for waiver when the arrears are less than 10,000 rupees.
According to me, no, we may complete waiver as per the.
Then, sir, whether the data of amnesty claimed under present scheme will be shared with income tax department or any other tax department.
Why not? And it is advisable that you should be honest taxpayer and show your liability in your books of account written on to the extent of the waiver.
So there's one last question. Complete waiver of arrears up to rupees 10,000 or less, whether tax is disputed or undisputed or both.
Anything
Any
less than
tax.
10,000, forget it. If you have 10,200 today, make the payment 200 tomorrow. Anything less than that.
10,000 amount includes tax, interest,
Anything and everything.
In 10 lakh also, na? 10 lakhs, tax, penalty, interest.
But then Janaka, if you 10,000 what you are saying, if it 200 rupees payment,
As on 31st March, I didn't say 1 lakh rupees, no, because that is not useful. So therefore, I had 10,000 rupees.
Sir, some more queries are there in the chat box. Sorry, I disturbed. Statutory order is passed for rupees 11,50,000. Dealer has paid 1,60,000 on 29th March 2022. Can he pay 20% of balance dues and apply for amnesty?
Yes. So let us wait for the circle, but we will give the example.
Right. So, one last question is here. For the financial year 15-16, order is passed by the assessing authority with tax demand of rupees 80 lakhs and interest of rupees 80 lakhs. We have paid interest 80 lakhs after order was passed. Now, how much amount to be payable for amnesty scheme?
That 80 lakh will be adjusted against the tax, so then someone will be interest. So accordingly, you go for them.
Okay. and whatever benefit is available to interest, that will be allowed. So, thank you, sir. We are done with the online queries. Now we will move forward for the offline queries.
Yes.
I will basically collect for conducting this seminar. Can I give a small question? What will be the liability if this given form is not submitted? Whether it will be a disputed liability or undisputed?
It is a disputed.
And suppose if the returns are not filed, the tax is paid, but return not filed. The late fees is payable. So whether he can await with amnesty benefit or not.
Late fee only if you file the return up to 31 March 22. And the problem is that without payment of late fee, you cannot file the return.
Yeah.
So forget the amnesty of the late.
Thank you.
Janabhai, April to June 17, MVAT assessment target taken up, but the portal shows late fee of 5,000 for April.
For legal case.
5,000, no, not legal case. Not legal case.
So तुमको देखते तो legal ही आता है. Because he has got number of the cases of the legal case.
So April 17, non-legal case, 5,000, May 17, 5,000, June nil. So that 10,000 which is showing as late fees for April to June, when assessment has not yet been taken up and will not be taken up. What is the situation? Should I apply for?
Yes, you can apply. Or they say the late fees payable as per return file up to 31st March 22 is covered. And for that you not require a statutory order.
No order is required.
So according to them, for the late fee, no order is required.
Okay, one more query on that. For liquor dealer, 417 to 31, 318 assessment already completed. Okay. And then what has happened? Yeah. I filed rectification application. Now rectification application is allowed. I made the difference of tax. Now they have raised an interest of 25,000. Okay. But my refund of 11-12 is pending with the department because the bank account is not being updated. So whether my point is whether they will adjust the 25,000 or 50,000 against the 12 lakhs, or should I go for amnesty for 25,000?
May notice of the 25 adjust the data to amnesty needed. But when it is not adjusted, you can go for amnesty right now. There is no question of adjustment of the demand.
No, because I have filed an application for a manual refund.
What it may be,
Yeah.
today is that there is a demand against you for that period statutory order, which is eligible for the amnesty. Once you go for the amnesty, and that waiver of the interest cannot be adjusted against the refund.
Thank you.
Excellent, here.
सर भाई मेरा एक क्लाइंट है जो रिटर्न भरा था इसमें टैक्स नहीं भरा है 1 लाख रुपए का टैक्स आता था 20,000 बना है 80,000 नहीं भरा तो ही यू विल बी एलिजिबल फॉर
और disputed return dues
रिटर्न ड्यू है
undisputed.
you will be eligible for that.
Even the eligible for interest are not of the tax. You will get the amnesty for the interest.
This one.
Other issue I found that they have covered the portion but not in the I referred your if the access is not find the return. In that case, whether it is covered under the undisputed then
Undisputed returns.
return is not filed.
But then the tax collection, when you where you will get the amnesty.
I have collected the tax from my return.
But as your tax collected is undisputed amount, whether you file return or not.
So I recovered the
Undisputed.
Janakbhai, just now one appeal is resulted in refund. But when I approached for the refund, the officer told there are some old dues of one ex parte order. So first of all, I will adjust this refund into that and then only So can I go for amnesty in that old dues and get refund?
एडजस्ट नहीं किया तो जा सकते, एडजस्ट किया तो कर सकते।
अभी तक तो नहीं की,
भगवान को प्रार्थना करो नहीं करें।
31 तक नहीं करे,
नहीं करें।
तो अप्रैल से फिर वो लागू हो गया।
Extending is very about late fees. But when you upload the upload, it is shown as admitted liability in the return. So whether the late fees is distributed on this.
There is no concept of the disputed and disputable interest penalty rate. It is eligible for the amnesty subject to payment.
This was actually my that order passed in 2018. I go for appeal, but in 2019, that appeal has rejected.
Okay.
Okay, and now commissioner has dismissed my appeal, and I have not preferred appealing tribunal. So certain document or well confirmation I have, but appeal has dismissed it. So what could I do now?
See now, at present, whatever appeal is dismissed, you don't have any appeal pending before.
Yes, sir.
So you are eligible for settlement under the act. Now, in respect of the confirmed what you have,
Yes.
now there was a circular in 2012 by the commissioner that when the tax is paid by the supplier, then they should grant a refund without waiting for that any order. So they issued a circular when the appeals are filed, then they will communicate that amount to the appellate authority. But from 2013, according to me, they have not communicated to anybody. Under the earlier scheme, there was a repetition in Bombay High Court. And in Bombay High Court, they said that whatever amount you paid under the amnesty scheme, that would be refunded to you when you produce the ledger numbers. So it is possible for you to get the refund file of that High Court order. I will just collect the kind of that order and giving the review to be printed. So there is a possibility because there can be recovery in both the cases. Now you take an example, you got a sister company where you have not paid the tax. So you go and make the payment under the amnesty as an undisputed tax. And then in other companies, the setup is resolved, there also you go for the amnesty. So government is pocketing the double money. And that is again the undertaking they have given before the Bombay High Court in Maharashtra. So the one big petition was filed in the Bombay High Court, and Bombay High Court had given a direction. They have given undertaking in Bombay High Court that whatever amount you have paid would be refunded to the dealer. So you choose what to do.
Is it possible that first I appeal in tribunal for 2019 and then I go for amnesty?
You can make an application, nobody prevents you.
Okay,
But tribunal should pass the order before the investigation.
that's the problem.
So that's why we are suggesting for the partial issue. હવે સંભળાય છે. વર્ચ્યુઅલ વાળા પણ સંભળાય.
Hello. In one of my cases, the order has already passed and demand is about 50 lakhs. I have one for other thing. I have made an application with the Joint Commissioner for installments. Officer just 2 days back, after receipt of this gazette notice, he issued 318 notices to bank and to my debtors. And he's basically that I'll collect the money from the debtors, I'll shoot the means with them and recover the funds from your debtors before 31st March. If he recovers before 31st March, then I can't go in amnesty because these recoverable from debtors are more than my assessment. So what should I do? I have
You immediately approach the commission and tell them that it should not be covered. You immediate today only, just now you go to the commission, make an application, restrain the person from the regularity is against the spirit of the law. And if he recovers, then file a writ petition and then head office.
Because 60 days are already over.
Whatever it may be, if there is a one judgment of the High Court, when the scheme is announced, then they cannot maintain a post recovery. Then the what was the payment they have made, that should be considered under the settlement. So anyway, yes, Alok sir, you wanted to make it. Now there is a one question from my side. मैंने कभी बताया ही नहीं तो क्या करने का ना. I never said that what is the amount payable under penalties. मुझे लगा somebody will ask the question. So that is in that annexure A and B. So that is divided into two parts. That is divided into two parts. Period up to 31st March 2005. Then on the disputed part, disputed tax, you have to make 30% penalty. And yes, 30%, and the when you go for the installment and 30% payable, for interest 10%, and for penalty 5%, and post assessment no penalty. Where areas of the less than 10 lakh then 20%, and after 2005 year, the amount 30% becomes 50% payable. For installment it is 56, interest 15%, and penalty 5%. That is mentioned in the annexure A or B. It does not require any discussion, so many including
So we have completed the session with question and answer. I think I request all of you first to leave the place. Okay.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to congratulate you to become a offline president by starting this guidance cell. I am really because last week only you will start such type of meetings and you are inviting Janak Bhai as a speaker. It is very good start to see you all over here in this 104. It is really nice place for all of us.
So that's the reason I what the money I told me that he wrote me the message. I signed up with all the online and all. That was the running message of us, and that's true that everybody is not like want to gather and that see this type of interaction will give you the much more advantage whether doing virtually and all. So that's the reason now onwards I am planning for the meeting physically only so that people gather and interaction will be there and all. And many more events will going to come physically also. So I would request whether people should come over physically. खाली आपको क्या बोलते हैं महीने में या वीक में एक दो बार आना है तो आप समझ लो कि आप खाली जीएसटी वाले को प्रोग्राम को देखने वाले हैं तो you come over there. So that will be a better and all. And thanks to all of you once of all that you are joining here and virtually all the members, all the participants. Thank you so much with us. It's a one of the good session we have, and we started with the when we started. I started my term which is physically as a settlement scheme, so beneficial to the member and all. So let's think we will go rolling further and all that. Thank you once again, my convener, because they will give a vote of thanks. I thank you to the Rahul Thakkar and Aditya Sima Pradeep, my convener, and my chairman of committee, Ashish Shah, for wonderfully planned and executed the program. I think one thing I found today that even that IT support has been taken care by the Aditya Sima Pradeep, the convener himself. That's what the value of this thing. Because convener is taken as the support and Swami Sunal now. So taken very fantastic thing and all. So we are meeting Atmanirbhar now that everybody should take the initiative to this thing. Now Aditya, please go ahead with the further proceeding. And once again, thank you our Janak Bhai for settlement scheme. इसका होगा जाएगा अपने के पास कितने सिखाया हुआ है.
Before proceeding to formal vote of thanks, Manoj Bhai has an announcement to make with respect to this.
Friends, the book has already been released on the FMCG and pharmaceutical sector, and the book is available for a physical sale over here, and the price of book is very reasonably kept at 150 rupees. The same is available on the online as well. You can order from the GMTB's website. for which the charges are same, only courier charges needs to be payable, which is also available on the online. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manoj bhai. Now coming to the last leg of this session, formal vote of thanks. I am very much grateful and I am rather very happy to see people like whenever we are having lectures, it was just like the lecture or what, whoever was the speaker who just kept on speaking and we were half-heartedly attentive, handling some other matter. But I'm sure that today, since we are begun with the physical lectures, the intensity of the lectures would be much higher, and I expect the attendance online and both offline has been more than what we had anticipated. So I'm thankful from the bottom of my heart to all the participants who have attended today. I'm also thankful to the speaker, Janak Bhai Waghali, to accept our invitation and to guide us on this topic. We will be bothering you again after the circular comes and with respect to all the procedural aspects of the scheme. I thank my president, Alok Bhai Mehta, to give me this opportunity. I thank my chairman and my co-convener, as well as our treasurer, Praveen Chinde, to be on the dais. Thank you. And before we conclude, we will just raise our
शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय